theatre, film, TV and more. Suzy Wrong reviews it all on Joy Drive.
Good afternoon, Suzy Wrong.
Hi Warren, how's your mental health at the moment?
It's not bad at the moment. It went down a little bit when I lost Fuzzy, but it's not too bad at the moment. How's yours?
I am at a good place. The last few months have been challenging because I've been in the process of buying a home, and the home thing has just dragged up a lot of old issues and old trauma. So yeah, it turns out a lot of my baggage has to do with home ownership and things like that. First with family, and then secondly with a long-term ex that I had. So it kind of took me by surprise a little bit. You know, it's not as if I don't know that these issues exist in me, but as I was going through the process, and all that stuff just kept coming up, and it was extremely challenging for me. But I'm close to settlement now, so the worst is over.
That's good to hear. So you didn't expect it, but are you viewing it as there's some sort of tapping noise, Suzy, we can hear coming through? I don't know what that, or rubbing noise. Do you view it as an opportunity though to deal with these? I suppose you call them baggage, but the home buying process. Are you embracing them and working through them?
I wouldn't say that I was embracing them. I would say that I was powering through them.
Right.
I kind of dealt with them straight on, head on, and kind of not allow it to kind of beat me. You know, the reason why it hasn't happened for me, partially, not completely, partially that I'm only buying a home at the age of 51 is that I've been so intimidated. I've been having to have so much emotional complexity around it that I think part of it was that I just couldn't face it. And this year I was able to. I think we've had discussions back, weeks ago. Well, it comes back every now and again that we repeat our patterns, but we don't know that we've become stronger through the years. And I think this is case in point. Like, I was able to be the stronger, kind of wiser person, and not be pushed down by it. Like there was still a lot of fear and a lot of worry and anxiety around it, but I found myself kind of having more sort of emotional capacity and psychological capacity to deal with things like one step at a time, and kind of look at things in a more optimistic way than I naturally would. So it was a really interesting, even though really difficult time for me those last few months. But, I've come to the light at the end of the tunnel. Now it's just the stress of the packing the house. But that's a different thing. But yeah, that's not quite an emotional thing. It's just kind of like making sure that I've got all my ducks in a row.
Absolutely. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because I find the same thing. As the older I get, the more confidence I have in, I suppose, how can I describe it? Like being able to step outside and look at how I'm reacting, or look at what I'm doing as though I'm observing myself. Does that make sense? And I found I'm more confident at doing that and not being so hooked up in what's going on at the time. So I can relate to what you're saying to some degree, Suzy.
Yeah, for a long time I thought I was really strong and really good at manipulating my emotions. I felt like I've always been able to kind of calm myself down, or change my emotions so I don't feel too negatively or angry or about stuff. But I found this time I wasn't able to change my emotions. Like the negative emotions just kept coming up. But what I was able to do was just to let it be, just understand that I know where these negative emotions have come from, but I will not let it defeat me. I will just keep on doing objectively go through the stages of what I need to do to get to the end. So it's a different experience for me. Like previously I was able to kind of play mind tricks on myself to, be happier or like have mental blocks or something. But this time I wasn't able to. These emotions just kept coming up. I wonder if that means that these are things that I have had to deal with, and it became like, oh, now is the time that you look at the scary things, the things that really scare you in the face and go through it. In any case, I do feel like I've gone through it.
Wow. How are you feeling now?
Proud about that. Exhausted, but and I'm glad, I knew that it was going to be a good thing to put myself through. I knew that it was much harder than I expected, but I knew that the payoff would be good, and I'm looking forward to finally not paying rent and and owning my own place.
How exciting. Will you have a housewarming party?
I will have a housewarming party when the place is looking fantastic, which God knows how long that's going to take. I was thinking, my goodness, is it going to take me 2 years before I feel like really house proud? I don't know, we'll see.
Oh, fantastic. I can't wait for that. Looking forward to it.
Well, we are talking about this because the movie has a lot to do with mental health.
That's today. Right. And the movie that we're talking about, it's So Damn Easy Going. You can catch it on SBS On Demand. Suzy, give us your review.
Joanna is an 18-year-old with a lot more on her plate than the average Swedish high schooler. She has ADHD, but there is no money for the meds that she needs to live a normal life. Her father is in deep depression, so Joanna has nobody but herself to rely on to figure things out and solve all the problems. This week's movie is So Damn Easygoing, streaming on SBS On Demand, a surprisingly moving story about a young queer woman who must fend for herself by being incredibly brave, resourceful, and maybe a little unscrupulous. So Damn Easygoing sheds light on those who struggle with both mental health and poverty. Joanna's challenges may seem dramatic, but they are presented in a very convincing way so that we may understand how this could be a common and real experience for some. The film is eye-opening and a valuable lesson not only on the difficulties faced by people like Joanna, but also on the limitations of the health system. I really felt for her. We see her trying desperately to get well, only to be repeatedly told as a teenager to go out and find more money for her pills. Her love interest, Audrey, is of a similar age and therefore unable to help with finances, but having someone to get well for is important. Joanna needs to present the best of herself if she wants Audrey to reciprocate her feelings. So Damn Easygoing is put together beautifully. The writing and direction have a simplicity about them, but they pack a punch. All the performances are great. I was especially touched by a couple of the male actors who were required to demonstrate a lot of vulnerability, playing characters who aren't able to do enough for someone they care a lot for. Warren, do you worry about health care and things like health insurance?
Oh my goodness, don't start me on health insurance. I do. I absolutely do. I have this belief, and I suppose it's a bit controversial, but health insurance is so expensive. It's really expensive, and it goes up every year. And I'm of the belief that private health insurance is an unnecessary management layer in our health system. That's my belief. I kind of feel that it should all be public. We've got private hospitals, yes, but we've created this thing called private health insurance, and it's just this management layer. We all pay heaps of fees to it, and then they go and pay the hospitals and the private providers, etc. Why don't we just have it going straight to the providers rather than having this layer?
Do you pay for private health?
I pay a fortune for private health. Health is something that I've always been quite worried about, and I pay a fortune. It's a lot of money, and a lot of people can't afford it.
All right, so you're thinking that you're not a fan, no, but you believe that's something that you need to have.
Do you have it?
Only in the last 3-4 years, as I grew, become older, and I hear stories from some of my peers, people of my similar sort of age, starting to, need more health care, and I thought, oh, maybe I need to do that. And in a way, I'm glad I started late, because I'm glad I didn't pay all that health care in my 30s and 40s, to be honest. I mean, the insurance. But now I do feel like it is sort of a necessity, maybe.
Well, and I suppose, it kind of is, because it's the way things are set up, the way they're structured, but it doesn't have to be that way. I don't like it. I pay it because I have to. If I get sick, I want to get something done. I don't want to be stuck in waiting queues, etc. But it's a bit of a bugbear, because in this movie in particular, I don't like the fact that access to medication for a health condition, no matter what it is based on whether you can afford them or not. And I understand that pharmaceutical companies need to make money. I get that. I've got that background. I understand all the research that goes into it, etc. But somehow I feel like there's also needs to be a bit of social responsibility as well, because in this movie, which is so damn easygoing, you can see what happens when you don't have your medication. And her life was just terrible. It just completely transformed her whole life. She wasn't able to manage her relationships, etc., her interactions with people, all for the sake of a pill that she couldn't afford. And it also took me back, to the days, I suppose, of early HIV, and there were buyers clubs trying to import AZT into the country because it was like thousands and thousands of dollars, and people were desperate, absolutely desperate, to save their own lives in what was a really fearful time. And I suppose, at the time was considered, basically a terminal illness. So I've got this thing about healthcare being based on how much you can afford. I think it's unfair, and I think at some stage it will have to change.
I wonder if something has happened with the Swedish health system, because I was always under the impression that the Swedish people have quite a good sort of public sector. So it was really confronting, I guess, to see the way just the pharmacists, the two pharmacists kind of were very unkind to a young woman. I thought that was a surprise. And I don't know, I would hate to imagine that someone like Joanna, if she lived in Sydney or Melbourne, somewhere in Australia, that she would experience the same, that she would go for days without something that's so crucial to her well-being.
Definitely. And I suppose, in some ways we're lucky because we've got the PBS system here, but you still got to pay. And, if with cost of living pressures, if you've got a lot of health conditions, it can add up. So I just think, I just don't think that it's based on how much income you can do. Think of the amount of people in the world at the moment that are missing opportunities to live their life to the fullest because they're hiding themselves. That was the other thing that this movie dealt with as well, was the stigma of having a mental health condition and potentially not disclosing it to people because you're concerned that they won't like you. I mean, how powerful is stigma?
That's a very real thing. You and I would understand stigma.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's good to see. It's good to see that being portrayed. I really like seeing her kind of working very hard to get her pills, because I think a lot of the stories that I'm familiar with about people with mental health challenges is them trying to get off the pills. Like I hear a lot about them kind of trying to wean themselves off, or feeling a little bit negatively about having to be drugged and having a reliance on that. But this one was a completely different case. Like she understood how important it was for her, and we were shown how badly it affected her without the pills. I was really impressed with this movie, Warren. I thought it was so simple but so intelligent, and also kind of emotionally engaging. The relationship with the father was heartbreaking, and the boy who was sort of in love with her. I thought all that was done with so much tenderness and so much honesty, and just so good to see kind of these what love looks like, when you have these sorts of challenges.
Suzy, you know what else I've really enjoyed about these movies, particularly the last couple, is they're international movies, and I like seeing what's going on in the other countries. So we had France last week, and this week we had Sweden, and it's nice. It's even though we're watching her go into a pharmacy and looking, I'm thinking, oh, that's what the pharmacy looks like over there. That's what the street looks like. I'm enjoying having a bit of exposure to the rest of the world while not travelling.
Well, thank God for SBS, isn't it? Like, we're really lucky, really. Honestly, we are so lucky.
We are.
I'm constantly looking for content to do on this Tuesday program, and at the moment, for some reason this year, there hasn't been very much on a lot of the main streaming platforms.
Good.
I don't know what's happening with
Let's go back to
funding
free to
over
air.
there.
Everyone can watch them.
And then I'm looking at SBS. It has a Rainbow Pride section, and it has all this fantastic content.
Oh,
really great.
So does that mean Suzy Wrong will be back on SBS On Demand next week?
We are. We're staying on SBS. But we're heading to New Zealand, a little bit closer, for a film called Mysterious Ways, in which an Anglican priest, Peter, and his boyfriend, Jason, want to get married, but the church wedding plans ignite a painful debate. Warren is going to love talking about this, I'm sure, when I see you next Tuesday.
Thank you, Suzy.